Are you like delayed, Shane, or what?
Yeah, it's not even the start of the episode, and I'm already starting to have technical difficulties.
I was
Oh, so
like, we're
Jesus, I
just
hope
like,
this isn't going to be. Hopefully, it's out early and it's done now.
that'd be nice,
Should be
but
good the rest of the way.
hopefully.
Uh, but thank you all. Welcome back to the CFL Weekly Show. Now that we got the technical difficulties out of the way, it literally as it went playing and then it stopped, and I was like, "Oh, this is great. I love this."
The
Thank you
intro
all for joining
music,
us today. It's myself, Cole, and Blake. Coach should be
and there goes Shane again.
Can you can you hear me, Blake?
I can hear you.
Oh, there we go. Coach is here anyways too. But I am looking forward to this week, boys. I'm a little bit like kind of like anxious, excited, obviously because it's playoff time and it's winner go home, and obviously we got 1/3 of us, or I guess 1/4 of us, and Coach having the bye week and being able to watch from a fan's perspective this weekend. I'm sure it'll be good from Coach, but I definitely got a little bit of anxiousness, I would say for sure, Blake.
Yeah, I'm not very anxious. Like, I don't know. I'm sure when kickoff happens, like it'll definitely creep in. Because like that's happened the last couple of not as much last year, because like last year it was almost a foregone conclusion that we were almost gonna lose just with all the problems and Nathan and VA and that whole stuff. But like especially the 2 years before that when the West semifinal kicked off, the anxiousness starts to creep in. But yeah, no, other than that, it's just excitement. Like I hope the Lions can beat the Stamps. I hope they get another shot at the Riders, and we'll just see what else transpires.
Coach, how we doing?
Hey, we got a week off. We just chilling. So I'm excited to see. I like when BC and Calgary plays each other. It's always a little tussle, always a little something going on. But I'm kind of scared for y'all a little bit, man. That secondary is pretty nice for Calgary. So
That defense is, in general, Coach, is pretty nice.
oh yeah,
That's why I was just saying to Blake, I'm a little anxious. I think it's just because of like that playoff feeling as well. Of, like if you lose, there's no kind of do overs. There's no next week. So I think it's gonna be a good matchup. I think as well. Like the saying is like it's hard to beat a team 3 times in the season, right? We've already beat twice. I do believe that the Lions are going to win on Saturday, but like on any given Saturday, right? And it's going to be an interesting one. I'm not. I don't think I'm scared
mm,
per se. But definitely anxious, I would say.
Yeah,
hey,
just ask the Western Mustangs how that went.
mm.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. Wow, that's
just want to say for BC, you guys have history on your side.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
I saw the stat that you posted. That's crazy. But
And
Kind of
obviously we
nuts. 1 in 12 all time
as
on the
well as like as much as you, all three of you guys know how much of a VA lover I am when he's not playing the BC Lions, but like the numbers speak for themselves. VA hasn't exactly performed in the playoffs either.
yeah, for
Nah.
sure. But
Other,
let's
other,
get
other
into it.
than other than the one matchup against Calgary, about what was it about? Because
Two
we were
years
all
ago,
20,
yeah.
we were all in the building for that
2023.
one.
Threw for 400 and had like
Yeah,
5 touchdowns, but
nasty work.
so
Cool. Do you guys
should
want
we
to
get
jump
right
in?
into recapping everything, Shane?
Yeah. Do we want to start off with the CFL or do we want to do some of the U Sports, some of the stuff that happened in U Sports last week? Um, may as well mention it. It's going to be CGFL Canadian Bowl this weekend. You got the
Next
next
Oakland
weekend.
Defense
next
or
weekend.
next weekend.
Can I just
Um,
say? Can I just say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Cole, for convincing me to spend that fucking 17 something dollars on the fucking Okanagan game. That shit was fun to watch. I was back and forth with him about it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna fucking do it. And I watched. I'm like, what? We were talking back and forth about it. Like, what the fuck is going on with Okanagan? Like, you was hyping them up all season, and these motherfuckers want to lay eggs, and all of a sudden, third quarter roll around, their defense showed up. This
Yeah,
is fun to watch. I'm gonna watch it again this weekend.
That
I'm glad.
PFC final too was, and
Oh,
I know Cole that like we don't have video review, of course, in the CJFL, but I've seen a couple pictures of that game-winning touchdown. I'm
Yeah.
not convinced it's a catch.
Yeah, I
Like
know there's a lot of
you
controversy going on
you
for
see the
sure. But
ball between his legs. Like, I don't know if it's a catch. Obviously, congrats to the Hilltops. They made an insane comeback like the Sun, but like it always seems like there's some controversy in the CJFL.
And
That's
I'm
what
going to
yeah,
makes it
say,
fun.
quote Jared Goff. Was it called a catch?
It was called a catch.
It's called a
it
catch. That's a
was.
catch.
But
I'm glad you enjoyed it though, Coach. That makes me happy. I'm excited for the Canadian Bowl. Honestly, it should be, I think, a good matchup. As much as I am a BCFC homer and kind of think Okanagan will win, I definitely do not underestimate any team coming out of the prairies, especially Saskatoon,
No.
with all their championship history already. So, I think it'll be a good one in a couple of weeks. But we can get into it maybe after U Sports or whatever. Because I mean, CFL last week was kind of essentially a wrap outside of. I mean, I know teams like Winnipeg, Calgary, and BC had stuff to play for, but they took care of business.
Yeah.
there was some controversy though that I know that we're gonna
Yeah,
get to.
the stat stuff, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But anyways, Shane. Yeah, let's go over the U
I
Sports
think
quickly.
Shane's frozen. He's definitely frozen. Like, do you have the U Sports stuff or no?
I know. I'll just quickly run over the
Well,
OUA.
I can just. I'll
There he
pull
Oh,
up
is.
my
Shane's
phone.
back. Shane's back.
Holy
There
fuck.
we go. No, he's not.
He's frozen
Oh,
again.
go three. Go three.
1 second. I'll try to Google it here.
But yeah, no, I have the OUA scores up in front of me. Guelph, of course, we already mentioned beating Western 18-17 on what was a walk-off rouge. Yeah, you heard that right, Coach. A walk-off rouge.
I heard.
Queens beat, I believe it
And
was McMaster,
sorry,
was it
Shane
not?
or Blake. Before you go ahead,
Oh
though,
my God.
I I feel like unfortunately that guy is getting like a lot of like crap and shit like that, and like a lot of the comments and stuff like that online. I also think that's partially a coaching
Oh,
error
100%.
on their part because obviously he was not prepared in that situation, like knowing that kicking the ball out of the end zone saves you that opportunity, right? Obviously, Guelph would have been able to kick it back into the end zone, but like
Yes,
it just
but I do have something to add on that point, Cole. I'm sorry to cut you off.
yeah,
But
go ahead, buddy.
if Western were to kick it off, no yards still applies. So like they would have to Western would have to give Guelph 5 yards to catch it. And the same applies for Guelph. Like if they were to kick it back in the end zone, that would have applied for Western. So by kicking it out, you almost give yourself a bit of breathing room as well.
Yeah, for sure. But it was definitely interesting to say the least. That like because we do have good like the perseveres now and obsessed pages that run accounts or platforms on social media, and they get like the clips up fairly quickly, and they have a pretty good following. So like I mentioned, the comments were kind of a little bit crazy, and I thought they were kind of going after the returner, rightfully so, because regardless if that is partly on the coaches, you got to know as a player in the Canadian like in the Canadian game that like that's on the line, and then running out of bounds and throwing the football forward was like the ultimate like, oh, this is a
Yeah.
tough look. And I also believe that kid was a
Get
fifth
him.
year
Get
player.
him.
I thought
Get
I
him.
heard.
Oh, damn.
But I heard even coach, all four of us got the World Series on in the background. But
I know, right?
yeah, no, Shane, we looks like we have Shane back. I don't remember the scores, but I know that Queens beat McMaster, wasn't it? And
46.
uh
I got him right here. Like Queens beat McMaster 46-10. Um, Concordia beat McGill 31-24. Laval beat Sherbrooke 26-3. Bishops beat Acadia 51-7. And then a couple other games in the OUA. Windsor beat the GGs Ottawa 31-24. And then the Canada West was their Canada
yeah,
West,
I wanna talk about that UBC game. That was
as always. Go ahead, Blake. You can talk about the UBC game, and then we'll talk about the other games because that kind of set the tone for the weekend. Because obviously that kind of
yeah,
secured
for sure.
the playoffs.
So the UBC, we talked about it last week, but the UBC Thunderbirds were in a must-win situation. They
Mhm.
held the fourth spot going into the final regular season week, but due to tiebreakers, if they had lost, the winner of the Alberta and Calgary game, which would have, of course, become a play-in, would have gone to the playoffs. UBC and Regina also kicked off at 1 o'clock Regina time, which was, of course, noon Pacific. It was alumni weekend for Regina, and I heard some rumors that, basically, for lack of a better term, they didn't want the alumni, like the football game, getting in the way of alumni weekend. That's why it was an early kickoff. Regina led, I believe it was like 24-9, 29-14. They were up 15 points with 3 minutes left in the game, and UBC got a touchdown to cut it to 8. They got a stop, they got the ball back, and they would score a touchdown with about 20 seconds left. Had to go to for two to tie the game and force overtime. They got the 2 point convert, forcing the game into overtime. And then in overtime, of course, with the Canadian rules, UBC won the toss. They, as most teams do in the Canadian rules, chose defense. Their defense held, and Regina's kicker missed his field goal. So it was a rouge. All UBC had to do was knock their field goal through, and their kicker, a first year import from California, I believe, kicked about a 35-yarder to send the UBC Thunderbirds to the playoffs and break the hearts of the Calgary Dinos and the Alberta Golden Bears. As that game, the UBC Regina game was on Friday, Calgary, Alberta weren't scheduled until Saturday. So they knew their game no longer meant anything. I know you have the score in front of you. I didn't even see the score of the Calgary Alberta game, but I saw that Saskatchewan, and that also had implications for Regina, as it meant they couldn't finish first in the Canada West. So Saskatchewan clinched first. That Saskatchewan Manitoba game meant nothing, but I believe the final score in that one was like 32-13 or something like that in favor of Saskatchewan. So I'll just quickly run over the Canada West matchups this weekend. It'll be the UBC Thunderbirds going to Saskatoon to face the Huskies, and the Regina Rams will host the University of Manitoba in the Hardy Cup semifinals.
I got the Rams winning that one
Who knows
easily.
what to expect, honestly, in the Canada West, man.
Yeah,
These
it's like,
playoffs are
Coach, I get it. Like, Regina is probably the better team, but last year, like, Regina and Saskatchewan were on the opposite ends of these games. They were
Right.
the 3 and 4 seed, and they went into Manitoba and UBC, I believe. Correct, Cole?
yeah.
UBC hosted last year, and they both upset the higher seed to go to the Hardy Cup. So
My only thing about it though is you just can't sleep on Manitoba. You
no,
just
for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
you
For
cannot.
sure. They had a tough
Regina,
start to the year, but notwithstanding this last game, because it was kind of, it meant nothing to Manitoba. They were
Right.
third no matter what. It meant nothing to them. Other than that, they ended the season on a 4 game win streak. So
But that's the thing about
Regina,
them. They are scrappy. They're going and they're well coached. They are very well coached. One of our good friends, Coach Ali, shout out to him. He gets his team right. He knows how to get his guys right. So I can't sleep on them. But hey, Coach Mark gonna do his thing with Regina. Hats off to him.
and obviously Regina hosts, so they're very motivated to continue their run from last season and hopefully finish it off this time.
Shane, do
Hmm.
you have the RESQ in front of you? Because I can quickly go over the OUA semifinals. It'll be Laurier who had the bye, obviously against Guelph, the lowest remaining seed. And then I believe it's Queens. Or no, is it? It's Windsor. Sorry, is it not? That's hosting. No, I had it right the first time. Queens gets to host Windsor, also due to that Guelph win. So Queens gets a second home game, and those are the OUA semifinals.
Shane, do you have the RSEQ ones?
No, because they're not put out.
It's actually no. Now that I say that, I believe it's Laval and McGill. and then it'll be Montreal against Sherbrooke in the
Yeah, but they're not
RHAPQ
on
semifinals.
U Sports.
Are the
Like,
AUS ones up there?
the AUS ones are. It's Acadia at St. Mary's and then Bishops at St. FX.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then, yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure it will be Laval, McGill, and Sherbrooke, Montreal. Laval and Montreal will, of course, host those games.
Yeah.
So
CJFL?
that is your U Sports, and yeah, I guess we kind of touched on it a little bit, but the Saskatoon Hilltops also came from 15 back with about 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter to steal the PFC final from a stunned Regina Thunder team. 30-27 in overtime, Cole, was the final score.
Yeah.
And then, kind of in the opposite of last year's Canadian Bowl final, it was the St. Clair Saints that jumped out to a 19-0 lead, I believe, at halftime. And then in the second half, two defensive touchdowns for the Okanagan Sun turned that game around. And they would go on to score 34, pardon me,
Yeah.
unanswered. And they beat the St. Clair Saints 34-19. So the Okanagan Sun, for the second year in a row, will play for the Canadian Bowl, and it will be against the Saskatoon Hilltops from SMF Field, as we mentioned, next Sunday, November 9th. So those are the last two teams standing in the Canadian CJFL loop.
Yeah, for sure. As I said earlier, I don't count anybody coming out of the PFC or especially Regina and Saskatoon, but I just think this is a really well balanced team. I know, Coach, we were going back and forth in the first half. Of like, what is going on right now? Like, why? Obviously, I thought Liam had kind of a tough half and didn't really look in rhythm too much passing the ball. But I talked about it with like Coach Miller a few times. Like, they lost their two best players last year in Noah and Bond, and arguably got better as a team, which I don't think any other program in the CJFL could do. So I think and kind of expect Okanagan to roll, but as we saw last weekend, you never know what could happen. Saskatoon, don't sleep on them. So I'm excited. I kind of bummed that it's not this Sunday, but I'm okay with waiting a week. Give the boys a little bit of rest, I guess.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Coach, you said you watched the Okanagan St. Clair game. Were you able to catch any of the Regina Saskatoon game or no?
No, I was I was tired. I didn't get a chance to catch that one.
What were
But
your thoughts on the Sun and St. Clair game, though?
well, first of all, I was pissed off because the running back from St. Clair, he thought he was Ash Chanjanti and was just running all over people. That pissed me off. So I'm thinking, all right, Okanagan, it's not that bad. They're gonna be all right. But then he scored again, and I was like, all right, these motherfuckers made me waste $17, and they ain't doing shit on defense because you know I'm a defensive guy. But then the second half rolled around, and they were just balling. They got the first turnover call. Correct me if I'm wrong. They got the one, they got the strip sack, and they got the fumble recovery, took it from him. They got another offensive touchdown, which I was like, why don't you run the ball? Like it
Yeah.
was like Okanagan was afraid to run the ball most of the game. But not bad. I enjoyed myself, and I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna watch the championship. I'm gonna watch that one. Saskatoon
I
and
think we might have lost Shane again. I was gonna ask him his thoughts on this game, but
And
this
and
dude.
coach actually makes maybe a good point there as well. Something to kind of that makes my brain kind of tick a little bit is like obviously Coach mentions like Okanagan's kind of I guess maybe you could say like inability to run or even refusing to run a little bit. Going out to Saskatoon, like that's not going to be like that's a non-negotiable. Like you got to
No,
run
you
the
can
yeah,
rock
run.
in the prairies. Especially if like obviously the forecast will be 2 weeks out, so maybe it's not the most accurate. But as we saw, whatever it was, and I know it's Regina a few weeks ago, like it was snowing sideways, and Regina ran for 600 yards rushing, and Saskatoon's running back, I believe it's David Collins, or I know his last name's Collins, I forget his first name, is a very talented back. I think he was 1,000 yard back this season, so um, definitely something that like Oki has to be prepared for, as well as like they have to be able to run the football, especially like having experience going out to Saskatoon, man. That wind is no joke, and passing the football can like kind of not be. It can kind of like, really take you out of your game plan. So it'll be interesting to keep in mind, especially come game day.
But
yeah.
it was
Well,
the but it was the routes. It was the route that he was calling. That was
Yeah.
what frustrated me. Was like you're calling a post. I understand post corner, back of the end zone. You got the extra. You got all that space back there. Use it. But you're in the red zone. You're like right there at the end zone, man. Run a counter, run a draw, do something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
Cole, we also, I mean, I know you mentioned the snow, and that's probably more likely like the later we get into November, like November, the Canadian Bowl will, of course, be November 9th. The West Final will be in Regina. We know that for sure on November 8th. But then, like on this past Sunday for the PFC final, it was like plus 15, 16.
yeah.
So in the prairies, you truly never know what the weather's gonna be like. Like it could be another day like that, or it could be like, as you said, like minus 15 with the wind chill and a heavy wind, and you're probably not passing the ball. So
And I know, I believe it was Kowalski mentioned too. Like they were like, I think he tweeted like it was t-shirt weather when they got out off the plane last week. So, like you said, you never know, and hopefully you definitely cross your fingers for nice weather in games like that. Because I feel like whoever, no matter who you're rooting for, you always want to see like kind of like a even scale game. So. CFL, U Sports, CFL a little bit, I guess. Is that where we go next? A little bit, I guess. We can recap from what is it, Friday, which was
Friday,
game one on Friday,
game one was the Ottawa Hamilton game.
which I mean, Ottawa's
Hamilton.
Ottawa. Tyree Adams threw how many interceptions?
Well,
Or sorry, what?
Tyree only threw two, I believe, but Matt Schiltz threw four. So
Okay,
they had
yeah, that's what I saw. They threw
they had
six of the team.
six total interceptions.
Huh?
I will let the two of you know, as Shane looks like he's trying to sort out his technical difficulties again. I picked Hamilton's defense in fantasy. I still couldn't win a week, which drives me absolutely insane.
You didn't win
But
week 1 here?
no, no, not
What?
in the pool, not in the pools that I was in. I did not win a
Oh,
single week, which drives me nuts.
Bro, you
But yeah, no,
suck.
it was like Hamilton's defense, thanks to those picks, got me like 20 points or something. And especially with CFL fantasy, like you're lucky
did
if your defense gets you like four. Like
did you win your last matchup of the year? No, no. Or
no, it's
sorry,
not
were you
head to
close?
head. Like it's just in the yeah.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah, I
see.
wasn't in a head to head pool. I would have won if it was like head to head. I get
I
what you
see what
mean,
you're
but it's
I see
just
what you're
like
saying.
cumulative. So
I mean, not much to really be said here. Ottawa is Ottawa, and obviously we got the news that Bobby Dice has been fired. T's and P's to Bobby Dice, as I think we are all. I don't want to speak maybe for Blake and Shane, but I feel like Coach and I are big Bobby Dice fans.
yeah,
Love what he's been able to do as a coach. And I know he's given opportunities for like fellow like my former teammate Isaiah Johns, who's kind of like an up and coming coach in the coaching world, coach at the University of Windsor, kind of got an opportunity through like the coaches pathway program or whatever it's called, to kind of be like an intern this season as like an offensive assistant or whatever. So Bobby Dice is good in my books. I feel like he kind of unfortunately, I don't know about the scapegoat because he's got to take a little bit of the blame over the last few years, but he's definitely not the guy that you're pointing the finger at of kind of what the problems are in Ottawa. And I feel like there's a little bit more internally going on in Ottawa, but that's probably some conversations for some off season shows and whatnot for Shane to let us know how he feels and maybe
yeah.
how they
What
should
what
attack.
what a day for his internet to be
Go to shit.
not working properly.
No,
But
no kidding.
that's fine. We'll just run the show, the three of us. So
That's fine with me.
Well, it's funny too, but last thing on Ottawa is I feel like it's kind of it's funny because like Shane's already breaking out the free agency stuff, and it's kind of it makes sense because Ottawa hasn't had anything to play for a while. But I feel like hopefully Shane's kind of maybe they have kind of a direction to maybe go towards with their new head coach and maybe have some positivity going forward, but that'll obviously come when we find out when that comes. I would imagine they'd want to hire someone like after Grey Cup kind of thing, like because obviously they maybe want to interview some coaches that would maybe possibly still be playing. Like if Montreal's still going, I know Calvillo's been maybe even kind of like I know not rumored, but maybe Shane brought it up as a potential like name to be interested in. So I would think that they would probably wait till after Grey Cup. Obviously, maybe hold some interviews pre Grey Cup, but probably not make a decision till after. So Ottawa will probably be without a coach for, I would say, a few weeks. And obviously, Sean Burke's still the man in charge as a general manager there. So for me personally, honestly, and any last thing on Ottawa before we talk way too long on Ottawa, but I feel like Sean Burke should probably take a little bit more of the blame than a guy like Bobby Dice, in my opinion. But Hamilton took care of business, and we'll see what happens from
Coach,
there.
before you go, I'll just say, Cole, we already know who the next head coach of Ottawa is going to be. It's going to be Rick Campbell.
Oh
Yeah.
God,
They're just gonna that's you like all
We
three
all
of us
know.
know. All three of
what a
us
shame,
know
dude. If
the
that's the case, dude.
CFL. I know, but the CFL, we've talked about it a few times this year. The CFL is the old white boys club. So
Thank you.
they're just gonna rehire Campbell, and they're gonna go like 9-9, 9-8-1, 8-10. They might sneak into the playoffs next year, and they're gonna lose in the East Semi again. Like that's what happens to every team that fires their coach.
Yeah,
Other than Killam, and the only reason Killam was hired was because he was a OC with Calgary for so long. Name me a coach, and I know what you're gonna say, coach. I have one coach in mind, but other than that one, name me a coach that was hired
Who?
that wasn't in the league before that
No,
had success the first year.
no, who you got in mind?
No, I was gonna say Corey Mace because
Yeah,
he had success and he wasn't super well known. Like people in Toronto knew him, but outside of Toronto, people didn't know him.
correct.
But like, look at all the other coaches that have been hired over the last like 2-3 years.
It's the
Like
same
it was
retread.
Chris Jones, like
Scott Milanovic.
yep, Scott Milanovic, Buck
Which he
Pierce,
can't get down. I'm not
OC.
giving him no
I
credit
love Buck
for them this
Pierce,
year.
and he has turned the Lions season around. Like I'm sure you guys saw the tweet. It was a fun little thing for me to do. But like after them being 5-7, he's turned the season around. But again, he was hired because he was the OC with Winnipeg for a million years.
Hmm. Did you ever buy that jersey?
Which one? The
The
white
one,
jersey?
yeah.
Yeah, I've brought it out before. Have you never seen it?
I haven't seen it,
Oh, okay. I'll grab it. I'll
um,
grab it.
but no,
I
I think with the Bobby Dice situation is two things are for sure. He does got to take responsibility for the fact that yes, maybe he was in over his head a little bit with being a head coach just yet. I believe with this experience, he can grow. He can be a coordinator. He can be whatever he need. There you go, right there. I like that. Uh, Sometimes, and it sucks because I want to see a brother be successful. The only thing that pissed me off yesterday, and it really stuck a stick in my craw, was Money Hunter's little comment talking about, oh, he should have stuck with special teams. That was my only thing. And I was like, bro, what's your beef with him? Everybody else is being nice.
Because he
Everybody,
got cut probably.
well, that sounds like a personal problem. He should have played better. But anyway, the devil is a lie. Look, Bobby Dice is gonna get his chance. I hate to see that he's getting let go, but not Rick Campbell.
yeah,
Like,
jeez.
like
I'm not
I knew when they
saying
brought him
I'm
on,
not
and
saying
I said it. I said they're gonna prepare him to be the head coach again.
no, I agree. I don't want
I
him to
would
be the
feel so
next
bad for Shane.
coach Phil, but like I think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would feel so bad for Shane. That would, as I said, like hopefully they get a new coach and like it's a positive direction. If they hired Rick Campbell, I feel like that would be just the darkest, grayest, gloomiest cloud that just comes over the franchise and like because they like legitimately last thing on Ottawa because we don't need to talk about the Ottawa Red Blacks this long
Yeah,
because
we
they are
haven't
the
even
Ottawa
talked
Red.
about Hamilton clinching the East
I know,
yet.
which is crazy to think, but this is probably the last time we're going to talk about Ottawa until off-season shows. So,
Till May, yeah.
personally, the last other thing is like why I hope they get a good head coach to go in a positive direction is because there's legitimate questions at quarterback. Like Drew Brown isn't, in my opinion, the answer. First of all, he's never healthy,
Well,
and
no, I was gonna say that, Cole. I don't necessarily agree that he's not the answer, but his problem is he's never available.
he's
Him
never
and
available. And then
it's
what's he
different.
saying?
Hold on. Let me say this. It's very similar situations between Ottawa and Montreal, except there's one difference. When Drew's in, they don't win. When Davis is in, they win.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big difference. and how much you're willing to take and willing to tolerate the injuries. That's the only thing. I
Yeah.
just I don't know because they was all hyped about Drew being the quarterback for Ottawa. They were excited. I was kind of like, all right, they got a quarterback. They might have something here, and the weapons that they were getting. But do you think that they have too many weapons?
Yeah, they might
Yeah.
too
It's a
many
good
mouths to
question.
feed. You're talking about, Coach. I think like the thing is too like for
I
Drew
don't
Brown.
think Gino sticks around though. Sorry, Cole.
N
Go
No,
finish your thought. But
I don't think so either, but, like, the thing I think for Drew Brown is they kinda, like, essentially took a chance on Drew Brown as well, like, obviously, backup in Winnipeg behind Zach Collaros, nobody really like, and obviously he showed a little bit of signs and flashes, like, nobody really knew what Ottawa was getting, and maybe like, obviously he's still young, and I know Shane loves "Oh, he's still young, and, like, you never know what he could look like because of, the Trevor Harris's, Cody Fajardo's, guys that get opportunities late in their careers," and it's legitimate, I understand that, but, like, maybe Drew Brown's like career arc isn't like a starter. Maybe it's like a very good backup, a guy that can come in, win you a bunch of games, like Nick Arbuckle, right? Like maybe can come in, win you a
mhm.
Grey Cup, can perform pretty well for you. And obviously Nick Arbuckle is kind of like the new hot recent name because he's done it the last year and a half or whatever. But like I'm sure there is other guys that kind of you can like relate to like maybe that is just Drew Brown's like ability, right? Because he shows signs when he's there, when he's in, right? But then it's like as coach said, like when he's in, it's not always guaranteed to win, and it's not like he's like dragging his team to like, oh, Drew Brown did everything for the Red Blacks to win. More often than not, it's like usually it's kind of like an uglier game. Whether that's his fault or not is an argument for another day. But like I feel like they have a lot of questions, and starting with the head coach is like that is the numero uno for getting your new foundation correct. So Hamilton, because that should be good
Well,
enough for. Or what do
vi-
you want to say?
yeah. Sorry, Cole. Just
Oh, good,
very
buddy.
quickly before we move on to Hamilton, I'll ask both you point blank: is Trey Ford the new starter in Ottawa in 2026?
Yes.
I could see it. I don't think so. I think Trey's reputation like is going to take quite the hit. So I think he's going to have to go somewhere to prove himself. And maybe Ottawa is, I guess, a good opportunity. Maybe I'm contradicting myself because Drew Brown isn't maybe solidified and kind of can be like that 1A 1B competition in training camp. But I really think he's going to have to go somewhere to back up and kind of like maybe suck a little bit, take a little, kind of put his pride to the side, I guess, if you will. But Ottawa
Uh,
might be the only spot, honestly, if we're being
Okay.
honest. But I'll see some of you guys a little bit later. That I guess we'll save it for another actually show, maybe off
yeah,
camera.
I say
Yeah.
yes as well, Coach. I think he's the new starter. But
But
you wanted to
who?
say something there?
But who is the offensive guy to correct a lot of the mistakes that Chris Jones and that offense fucked up with him?
Yeah, see, that's also I don't think the fit is there, and him going to somewhere, as Coach said, somewhere that like a coach can maybe like get the best out of him. Where Ottawa, it's like I don't know if that's that's the right
True
opportunity,
enough.
but
True
I
enough.
I do see it as probably the best opportunity out there for him to like kind of compete probably, for sure. But Hamilton, I mean, not
They
much to be
just
said.
I mean
Everyone kind of
the reason we're
yeah.
talking about Ottawa so much is because Hamilton went in, did their business, went home. Like they
Hmm.
booked the
And
East
obviously
final.
credit to them too, right? Like they had to win to make sure they secured first place. This obviously could have been like a game that they looked past and a trap game, whatever they want to call it, and maybe they got caught and Montreal could have leaped over them, but they handled their business, right? So I'm honestly excited. I don't want to look past Winnipeg, but I'm excited for that Montreal Hamilton East final that I think we're gonna get.
Yeah, and I think Hamilton, before I let you go, coach, I think Hamilton like did exactly what they wanted to. Like they got out to an early lead, they got out to a fairly big lead, and then um they didn't really have to use Bo Levi Mitchell in the second half. So even
Hmm.
though they had to play him in the game because they had to win, he almost gets like a week and a half of buy time instead of just playing 1 week
Right.
or 2 weeks, however you want to look at it before the East final. But
Now they took care of business, and that's just something that I like to see out of Hamilton is they take care of business. They jump out early on you. They make you submit with that defense. What more could you ask for? So they got and they did it in a way where if they do that the rest of the way, do not be surprised if we see them in the Grey Cup because that they can pace a game out and make it hell for you.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're only in semifinal week. I have an opinion on what I think the Grey Cup might be, but I agree with you, Coach. Like that, I think, and of course, we'll get to it in our predictions a little bit later. But I think I'll put it out there right now. I think at the very least, the East final will be Montreal and Hamilton, and that like because Hamilton beat them both times in the regular season, but they didn't see Davis Alexander. So I think that is going to be one heck of a football game if
Mm-hmm.
it happens. I mean, I know never count out the Blue Bombers, so I should put that disclaimer in there if it happens.
Why not us?
But so
There's a lot of
What
that's
was
the famous saying.
the?
Why not us?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like Flake said, not counting out Winnipeg, but I think Montreal's going to handle business, especially if Davis is able to be healthy for the full 60 minutes and they're playing at home. Montreal's, I feel like, similar to BC right now, where they're playing and feeling very confident. What was the other game Friday night?
Edmonton, Calgary.
Oh, Edmonton.
What a
Mm-hmm.
Poor,
snooze fest.
poor
Snooze
Edmonton, man.
fest.
Unfortunately, they wasted quite the season from Justin Rankin, who I think should have probably been in MOP conversations or at least a candidate,
He didn't even
because
get an
he was.
all-star knob.
I think it's tough though, because I know I saw Superfan, is it
Super
Mike?
fan Mike. Yeah, he was a little
Yeah,
upset by that, but
and Lions Den going back and forth, and like obviously Dietrich Mills right away has to get the first All Star out of the West. He obviously led
so
the.
is it two running backs or just one?
No, it's not anymore. And I know Mike or Superfan mentioned like he liked the format of having two running backs, four receivers. I personally disagree. That's why I also when we did our BCFC CFF All Stars, we did the opposite that the BCFC does. We did one running back, five receivers instead of what the CFL used to do and the BCFC does, which is two running backs, four receivers. I personally find that weird because you play 1 and 5, so why not keep it the same? But I do hear the argument because there is, very talented. There's a lot of talented backs, but even like a guy like James Butler, right? Like you could say like, oh, it's crazy that he wasn't an All Star either, right? But the seasons that Dietrich Mills had, the seasons that even if Dietrich Mills wasn't it, Justin Rankin might have been in it over James Butler if like we're having that realistic conversation. As I said, Cody Fajardo, I think, was good and rightfully gets that opportunity to kind of come back and get that approval from Coach Killam to kind of like, this is who we want to come back. Um, wasn't, I would say, great. I would say he was like solid, maybe like good. I would say Justin Rankin was a big reason, like, I wouldn't say carrying them to competitiveness, but like pretty close to being a lot of that offense. I believe he had 1,700 all-purpose yards, led the CFL in all-purpose yards from scrimmage. So I think it's unfortunate that the Elks kind of, once again, like kind of same problem as last year. Obviously, 22 and 23 were a little bit more disastrous, but you have like the end of the seasons that you were the last two seasons. It's like you gotta have that little bit of hope that like, what if you were able to win two or three more games, and they had those
Yeah, well,
opportunities, and they just unfortunately weren't able to win. So it's like,
we talked about it last week. Like I guess technically because when we're gonna talk about this other game in a moment, when Winnipeg won, it turned out not to matter. But like they got walked off 2 weeks in a row. And if they win both of those games for
and that
sure,
happens like every year.
but maybe one of them, they make the playoffs. Like it's probably as the crossover team, but they're still in the dance.
And it's been forever since they've been in the dance.
And
Yeah,
that's huge
2018, I believe.
But
for Kim,
there's something
for
I do want to
Killam.
add to that. I wanted to see Justin Rankin because I love Justin Rankin's game, but I did pick Dedrick Mills to be the league leading rusher this year. Early in the season, when he had those 3 touchdowns. So either it could have gone either way. I'm happy with both of them because the running back position is alive and well in the CFL,
It
and
is, yeah.
it's something that you need to see more of. I feel like we've been in an era, we've been in such a passing era but we don't really have that many great receivers. Like we have
Yeah.
good, we have very good. We don't have that cream of the crop just yet.
No, I
So
get that. And but do we want to do this now? Because I didn't watch the game. Like I know, Coach, you guys played on Thursday, so
mhm,
you had already coached last week. I was coaching when this
mhm.
game was going on. But do we want to talk about the officiating now? Because there was also a play in this game that seemingly got called incorrectly, and then in the Riders and Lions game, it got called the complete opposite.
What refresh me, Blake?
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, so
Oh,
Rankin,
the
so
catch.
Rankin was looked like he was gonna score a touchdown late in the first half. I believe at this point it was 10-0 for the Stampeders. He was stripped, and it was clear that it was a strip. The ball came out before the end zone. So it was a strip sack or strip fumble. It got fumbled into the end zone, but the line judge signaled touchdown. So I haven't even watched the highlights. I haven't seen this play at all. But from what I hear, Rankin kind of went to go collect the ball, saw that the line judge signaled touchdown, didn't go after it, and it was about 5 seconds later when a Stampeders DB came and grabbed the ball and essentially recovered it. After review, the command center said that it was, of course, a forced fumble, which, as we said, was the correct call, but then it was recovered by Calgary, which is by rule is the incorrect call because it was not an immediate recovery. So because it was not an immediate recovery, it should have remained Elk's ball at the 1 yard line.
Yeah, it's always like a tough conversation when talking about the referees because obviously they have, as you know, Blake, well, you're very
Yep.
well aware as an official, they have the hardest job outside of the athletes, obviously on the field, and obviously stuff's happening at full speed, but like this is the time of year that like they need to be on their
Well,
A game because like these are the games now that like start to matter. Like if we're honest for a second, that the call in the Saskatchewan BC game changes the whole game if that's a
I,
touchdown, right?
I
And
disagree.
obviously I know that's
Yeah.
it's the right call, but
No,
in
no, no.
playoff
I even disagree on that. I don't think it's the right call, but I'll let you finish.
okay, but in playoff football, like we can't be here next Wednesday and be talking about like Montreal won because of this or
Hmm.
Calgary won because of this. I just feel like it hurts the product, number one. It hurts like the outside narrative coming from like those casual fans and stuff like that. Those fans that are quick to say like, "Oh, well, look at the CFL and how much a joke it is." The fans that are tuning in just to like kind of see its downfall. That hurts for sure. So, like I get it, and I hate to like bag on the officials and stuff like that, especially because I understand how hard of a job it is. But like, you can't be fucking up these situations, these calls in these big games because there's much more on the line than just wins and losses. There's legacy, there's championships. Like there is a lot going on. So it's a tough situation to be in, but hopefully, especially with like the end of the regular season, that's pretty much what was because there wasn't really much to be played for, or what was to be played for. Everyone expected, as we saw with our picks last week, everyone expected Calgary to win. Everyone expected Winnipeg to win. Everybody expected BC to win. So
Well,
the
that's not true. You didn't pick Winnipeg, but
okay, well,
Tell the truth.
F you, number one. Um, the, it's that's the storyline to end the regular season. That was what Three Down Nation was talking about on the podcast. Like that was some of the CFL 100, some of the podcasts, some of the media, and that's not what we want to be talking about. We want to be talking about the fabulous place. We want to be talking about Jackson Finley, fourth game, fourth interception in a row. We want to be
and he
talking
got a
about
return.
yes, he did. What else happened in Calgary? I mean,
Yeah,
multiple.
but Cole,
Go,
sorry,
go ahead.
before you finish on the game, I will just add a point. And as you said, I am an official, so I know what a tough job it is, and I get it. Like live, stuff happens. I've even gone back. Like, you guys all know I'm a ball hockey official. I ref in a men's league. Some of our playoff games are videotaped, and like I live, I think the call is correct, and then I see the video after on, and I'm like, man, like I messed that call up. But in the CFL, they have that option. So I get the officials on the field calling it incorrectly, potentially.
Right.
Like that happens. That's full speed. But for the command center to get it wrong in not one, but two games is completely unacceptable. Like you have literally one job. Your job is to correct the obvious mistakes, and twice you did not do it. So that just cannot happen. And I've seen like the X beef and Facebook beef and whatever. But the thing is, like these traditionalists, as we were calling them after the rule change, they're right. Stuart Johnson, look, we've talked about the rules for the most part. We're in agreement with most of them, if not all of them. But you need to fix your command center and your officiating first before you worry about making all these rule changes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the command center is definitely probably a bigger conversation because that has just been, I feel like, so you have great moments where it comes in very handy, and then you have other moments where it's very, you just can't help but scratch your head and wonder why. But coach, go ahead and what are you feeling?
I'm feeling like nothing is perfect, but you have to own up to your mistakes. You have to, as the league, as the people who make it possible for there to be reviews and stuff. I mean, if you fuck up, you fuck up. Nobody's gonna care. The only people that are gonna care are the traditionalists. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
like
there's imperfection. There's no perfect football game at all. It's not
for
realistic.
sure.
There's going to be fuck ups. But I just can't stand when these traditionalists, oh, there shouldn't be reviews and there should be this. You gotta trust referees. Well, the referees are human too. So what
Exactly.
it's a touch
And
and go situation, you know.
I get that point, coach, and I agree with you, but that brings me back to the command center. Like if the refs make a mistake on the field, the command center cannot.
Yeah,
I agree. You guys have all these different angles, all these different views.
slowing it down, slow motion.
Yeah. Like again, like we can talk about it in a moment. I disagree. Like on the my disagreement in the Riders Lions game is twofold kind of, because I believe, first of all, there was a blatant headshot on Keon Hatcher that was missed on that play by both the officials on the field and by the command center. But
Right.
I also believe that it truly was actually a Lions touchdown. However, if you're gonna call it a fumble, then you have to let it play out. Like the inadvertent whistle can happen, and
No.
it was from an experienced official as well, like someone that I believe I saw the stat has refed like over 150 CFL games. So either you blow the whistle and signal that you think it's a touchdown, and then the command center can review it, or you don't blow the whistle at all.
Yeah, for sure. Well said, Blake, for sure. And like I said, lastly on the officials, because nobody wants to be talking about them, do not interfere with playoff football this weekend.
Yeah.
Please, let's not have this conversation next week, and
Well,
we
it's
can.
funny you bring that up, Cole, because like the Grey Cup in Hamilton 2 years ago, there's a catch that Austin Mack made. Like it was the one-handed catch, like middle of the third quarter, whatever it was, when Montreal slowly started to make their comeback. The only reason he had to make the catch was because he was blatantly pass interfered with, but it was not called on the field. And Montreal had already used their challenge earlier in the game on what they believed was a no yards that wasn't called, so they couldn't even challenge it. But it's like stuff like that in the playoffs can't happen.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into Saturday's matchups quickly, and we will get out of here. As Blake's smiling from ear to ear, that little fucking bugger. I cannot believe you pulled that one out of your bunghole and got me to tie the season series. But I wasn't able to watch any of this matchup as this was being played at the same time as Okanagan and St. Clair, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I really missed majority of this. I was paying attention via social media. The one thing that I did see and definitely is a bummer, something that I definitely hate to see is the injury side of things and Chris Shover leaving the game once again, and definitely some even more talks after coming back from another pretty significant injury of possibly career ender, career threatening. So you just hate to see it from a guy like that. Obviously, I think we all kind of are in agreement of the maybe the trying to word this properly, but like the caliber of player he is versus like the human
Yeah.
he is. Obviously, from everything we've heard, everything we've seen from the videos and stuff like that, he's a great human being. I follow him on social media because he runs like a other platform outside of his personal Instagram account that's like for quarterbacks and kind of like for offensive football, like for people that want to learn offensive football. So he uploads like X's and O's and stuff like that type of stuff. So I really enjoy the person and teacher that Chris Chuba is trying to be. And you just hate to see something like this because obviously he battled back from a pretty significant injury last season, and now another one to kind of at the end of the season, it probably puts you, if he is trying to look to come back, like you're rehabbing into next season and stuff like that. So it's just a bummer. You definitely hate to see the injury side of things, but Winnipeg handled their business. They are crossing over, so they won and got the of going to Montreal, which is not going to be any easy feat. But I feel like really Winnipeg going in is kind of a little bit of a wounded duck. I feel like a little bit with obviously Schoen's done for the year. They're kind of, I know, somewhat okay in the receiving core, but I feel like just not at the caliber that they could have been with a guy like Schoen and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, what did you see, Blake, from the game? Were you able to watch this, or were you at work?
No, I was at work. I did listen to I'd say a fair bit of the second half, like about half the third quarter, and then oh, what a catch there by Bargy. Um, about half the third quarter and then all of the fourth quarter. I will just say, as you said, Cole, as much as we think of him as a player, as a person, that sucked to see for Strevler. Like, I saw the clip of the play after. It looked like it was a non-contact injury because he he was gonna try and run on the play, and then he sort of pulled up and ended up getting sacked by KB and Anto, who just kind of like tapped him because he could see that he was hurt. But yeah, like Terry Wilson um, did enough. Like Matthew Peterson, we saw it in weeks 2 and weeks 3 when
Mm-hmm.
Brady Oliveira was injured. He's more than a capable backup. He was close to 100 yards on the ground. And then it was the fullback, Chris Ike, that kind of put the dagger into that game with like a 75-yard run late in the fourth quarter. As far as like Winnipeg was concerned, they didn't play Claros, of course. They didn't play Oliveira. It almost looked like they were trying not to win the game, and then they ended up winning anyways. But for Montreal, like Coach said it earlier, like they are completely different with Davis Alexander than without. They are,
Yeah,
I believe their
MVP
total.
looked horrible.
Yeah, they finished the season like 7. What's he up to? 10 wins in a row to start his. Is it 10 or 11 to start
I
his
think it's
career?
11.
11.
Yeah, so they were 7-0 with Davis Alexander as a starter. They were 3-8 without him. And like a couple of those wins, like I think one of those wins was against no, might have been Ottawa early in the year. Another win was against Calgary when PJ Walker had to come in because VA got hurt. And there was really like one game where McLeod Bethel Thompson was kind of one of the reasons why they won. So, like for Montreal Alouettes fans, it's a good thing that Alexander will be back this week. But and I don't wish this on anyone. If he were to get injured at all during the playoffs, I would say kiss your Grey Cup hopes
He
goodbye.
he's reckless, man. I said it I think a few weeks ago. Like I love Davis Alexander. He's probably like my second or third favorite quarterback in the CFL outside of Rourke, obviously. Like to watch, and I think his career trajectory is only going up and up. But man, he has. I think I said it a few weeks ago when I brought it up. He has a little bit of like Jackson Dart in him when he was at Ole Miss, so like just running face first into dudes, and it's like, man, brother,
Well, yeah, the Alouettes fans held their breath a couple weeks ago, like the Thanksgiving game
yes,
when he
you were the
when he was
face of the
mad, but it was
franchise.
absolutely the right call to put him in concussion protocol.
You were the face of the franchise, my guy. You being behind center is the most important. As Blake just said, 7-0 versus 3-8. It is
Mm-hmm.
a completely different team. And they're from top to bottom, roster wise, like they're a fairly talented team without the quarterback position. Defensively, they're loaded.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Receiving core receiving core is pretty good. I think we're all pretty
like
high on
Sneed,
Tyson Philpott being arguably the best Canadian receiver. At least I would say
and
top
he
three
he didn't
Canadian
even
receivers.
do he. Not to cut you off again, Cole, but like for Tyson standards, I
Yeah.
don't even think he had that good of a year.
Well, he
Like
just needs to stay healthy for a full
like other
18.
than that Saskatchewan game, but guys like Austin Mack, Tyler Sneed, James Letcher on the offensive side of the ball. There's a receiver that I'm missing as well. His name is escaping me right now. Rambo's another one.
Yeah.
Like,
But like Montreal is a good ball club with or without him. They are completely different with him, which says
yeah,
all you need to about Montreal. So for all Alouettes fans that hope that they're going to go on a nice month run here in the playoffs, it starts with first and foremost keeping that guy upright and healthy for all three games that they hope to be playing in October slash, or I guess November, excuse me, actually, as by the
yeah,
time
we're
it will be November. But
Saturday. Yeah, Coach, do
yeah,
you have any
Saturday.
thoughts on this game before we move to the last game of the week?
I'm guessing that's a no.
Nah.
Yeah, there wasn't really much to be said about this one, honestly.
It
I
was
feel like,
pretty,
as you said,
especially after Hamilton won and they
yeah,
announced like which we expected, which is part of the reason why I picked Winnipeg. Like even though I knew, or
yeah, he
of
was
course
smart shot, smart shot.
I shouldn't say because of course at that time we didn't know, but I figured if Hamilton won, which we all predicted and did happen, that Montreal would go with MBT and sit out a like Philpott played, but like some of the others didn't. That Winnipeg would win. So yeah, moving on to the last game of the week. It was the Riders and the Lions, and coming into the week, all of us except for Coach picked the Lions, but like it was a lot closer game, even without the controversial non-called touchdown than I think the Lions were hoping for, especially after the very first play when Aiden Eberhart takes it like 69 yards or whatever it was, and the Lions were up 6-0 because Mr. Automatic missed a kick. I know, crazy to think, Cole, but he missed the extra point, and the Lions were up 6-0, and you thought, oh, okay, Saskatchewan doesn't have anything to play for. Like Trevor Harris is going to play quarter, maybe quarter and a half. That'll be it. They'll put the backups in, and the Lions will wrap up the Western semifinal hosting berth. But that didn't happen. Like the Riders responded right away. Harris drove them down give them the give them the lead, and then it kind of went back and forth in the first half. They would score another touchdown early in the second quarter to once again take the lead, and that's when they took Harris out. And even Jake Mayer like didn't look too awful. Like I know he's Jake Mayer. We've had thoughts about him in the past, but I thought like I didn't
Y'all
see the
did.
game.
Y'all
I was
had
of course
thoughts.
still at work, but like he was pretty
Yes, you were.
good. And the Riders kept it close throughout. And Keon Hatcher had to make an insane catch at the end, which contrary to what Riders fans believe, unlike the fumble slash potential return touchdown, that was the correct call because Hatcher, the difference between the catch and a non-catch is Hatcher had his hands under the ball. If you have your hands under the ball and control of the ball, control is the key word there, then the ball is allowed to hit the turf. That's why it was called a touchdown after review.
Yep. You know, well said, Blake. I pretty much agree with everything you said there, and as far as a breakdown. For me, I think maybe we'll talk about it in a little bit when we talk about the matchups. Um, you know, versus BC Calgary, and we give our picks. I'm actually curious if Shane's gonna actually throw in his picks, or we're gonna have to wait, I guess, till offline. Not that if he is watching, not that he's made our freaking graphics the last month of the season when I started to do good. I finally started to do good, and nobody even knows about it anymore. But I feel like case in point of like kind of the
Oh, come
game
on.
staying closer than maybe people would have liked, especially BC fans. I think it just goes to show of how talented the Saskatchewan team is and kind of the
For sure.
culture and standard that Coach Mace has set in Saskatchewan, that no matter who's in on defense, on offense, whether the backups start to get rotated in and kind of where they're in a meaningless game, this is an important one for them because obviously they have the bye. They want to try to get as you know, good of reps without kind of risking injury and stuff like that. So, you know, good on Saskatchewan for keeping it close. You know, once and kind of we knew going in that at some point we were going to see Jake Mayer. As uneasy as it was in kind of the moment, it kind of really never felt too threatening in my opinion. Anyways, it always kind of felt like we were going to be able to at least nail bite our way through a victory. Now that doesn't ultimately say the best going into playoffs if you can't really kind of, you know, Saskatchewan, and obviously you can't play all your backups with only dressing whatever how many guys it is on a game day, if it's 53 or 48 or whatever it is in the CFL. Obviously some of your starters have to stay in. So but Saskatchewan, I think it just says a little bit more about them more so than BC. But I'm curious to see if like that kind of maybe does that lure around going into you know, a playoff game? Do they kind of maybe not look like the team they have the last 6 weeks? But I think I think we'll find out on Saturday. But other than that, Coach, I mean, do you have
Yeah,
anything
I
else to
know,
say?
Coach, you have your thoughts on the game, but I will say that I agree with Cole. Like, I was never super worried about the Lions winning the game. Like, I know it was closer than it should have been, but I was never truly worried about them losing. Maybe, and if the touchdown, and again, that's another point that I don't necessarily agree with, that if the touchdown is called um, correctly, if you want to say, contrary to what my opinion is, that the Riders win the game. I don't necessarily agree with that. I'd say it might be tied at the end, and it would come down to either a Sean White or the kicker that the Riders had. I forget his name. It wasn't Lawther, but whoever they had, field goal. But I don't necessarily think that that would have been the turning point that won the Riders the game. But anyways, I'll let you go now, Coach.
I mean, hats off to BC. They came in, walked into our trap, took our trap. But what everything that led up to that possession, it's not the possession on that play that made us lose the game. It's everything leading up to it. That's what frustrated me was, um, hey, it's just one of those games that we care, but we don't really care at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
No, I get it.
it's just all right. You got one on us, but we gonna see y'all.
Yeah,
We gonna
exactly.
see y'all. Because I
Yeah.
I'd rather us play BC than play Calgary.
I don't.
That's just me.
I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Like, even with last week's game, the Riders finished 2-1 against BC, 0-3 against Calgary, and even last week, like when the starters were in, it was a close game, and the Riders held the lead for a majority of the time that all starters were in for both teams. So,
Right. So I mean, it's not even like I'm
but
upset about it. It's just, hey, let's take this week. Let's get healthy. Let's go through our stuff that we need to go through to prepare. We'll have a chance to see who our opponent is. So technically, we'll get like 2 weeks to prepare. Let's just get ready for that. Let's just
but
get
yeah,
ready.
Yeah.
We're
I,
hosting. It's going to be a party and take care of business. We'll see.
The
We're
I
we
don't
don't.
have
restaurant
it.
through Saskatchewan.
Oh yeah, they're going to tear up the city.
I don't have any more thoughts on the game. Cole, do you?
No, not much. We can get into some playoff football, boys, if we
Let's
want
do
to get
it.
into the
Let's do
matchups.
it.
Obviously, the Eastern semifinal will take place first on Saturday afternoon.
Quickly, sorry,
Obviously,
Cole.
with
Before we get
yeah,
started, the game times, I'm sure everyone watching or listening knows by now, but the game times were moved up an hour due to the potential of a World Series Game 7. And I have been asked this question from Cole and my buddy Jay. If there is no game 7, if one of these two teams wins tonight and then wins Friday, will they revert back to the original start times? The answer to that is no. Like the times and the venues and stuff, it's too hard to move them back and forth, and especially with not knowing that at all until late Friday night. I think the CFL did the right thing here. There's like Cole's seen it, I'm sure. Shane, when he's here, even Coach, I know he doesn't like to talk about it, but he's seen it. Like this country is pretty swept up by Blue Jays baseball, so it was a smart move and probably the only move that the CFL could have made, moving the start times up an hour.
yeah, it's
Well,
smart for sure. So obviously the Lions play at 2:30,
Correct.
with this other game kicking off at 11:30 Pacific.
11.
Um,
They
oh,
gave a
sorry.
half-hour buffer.
11, which is smart. I hate when it overlaps and you got the end of one game and then you're trying to, either watch both or you're unable to because we maybe have one screen. So I like that they have a little bit of a half an hour of a buffer. 11 a.m. I also love that because it also makes me feel like a little bit of Sunday football. I personally love that benefit of having kind of the early morning football be on the West Coast. I could not imagine waiting till 1 o'clock to watch football on Sundays. I feel like that's just a little bit weird.
It's
So
so
for
brutal.
me,
I've been in Toronto before, and like Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, like places like that. It just
yeah,
makes the day feel so much longer.
yes, exactly. So for me, being able to, although I just realized I'll be kind of traveling probably Saturday morning, so I won't be in bed watching this
So you're
game.
coming to the
But
game then?
yeah, I'm coming to the game. So I will be, I guess, traveling now that I'm thinking about it. I actually was going to try to come over Friday and try to get in walkthrough, but unfortunately, things aren't going to work out. So I'm going to have to come over Saturday now. So yeah, I guess now my plans are a little bit changed for this game, as I was
Hello
actually
has
looking.
Wi-Fi though, don't they?
They
Just
do, yes. I
stream the
was I was
game.
actually looking forward to sitting
Stream
back
it.
and kind of watching this game. I will still be able to enjoy the game, but just being at the stadium and once I get there, I kind of check out a little bit of the other game. Like I've tried to do it at times this season. I like throwing the game on the laptop once I get to the stadium and whatnot. And you can watch it, but then at a certain point, once I'm trying to get like some content and stuff like that, it tends to get a little bit tricky. So. That will be unfortunate, but shout out to, as always, CFL Classics on YouTube, our freaking
yes,
boy,
sir.
Yes,
for
sir.
being so quick with it and uploading the games on full replay within hours more often than not after the games are played.
The
I know
dude
sometimes
puts
he's
or
busy.
or woman, I shouldn't
Yeah,
discriminate,
actually,
but
yeah.
but
But that
they
would,
put whoever it is puts in work.
yes,
They be
and it's
doing
very
in
quick.
God's work.
Yes, and the throwbacks, if he is listening by chance, keep him coming because I enjoy those as well from time to time when I am bored in the off seasons,
2010
especially.
West Semi. Oh, what a game.
Yes,
Classic.
those
Lions
some of those
lost,
West
but
semis
still,
back
what a
then.
game.
I also came across the 2011 Vanier Cup probably like 6 months ago in the off season before the season
I
started,
still
anyways.
argue that's the greatest football game ever. Like,
It
Yeah,
not,
is.
it's up
I
there.
mean, you
I was
can
lucky
debate
enough.
like NFL, like fine, but Canadian football, I would argue that is like, for me, because I was at that game live, that
Yeah,
is
me
the
too.
greatest game ever.
Bro, it's the
Yeah,
standard. And for a guy that's not even from Canada, so considering myself an honorary Canadian,
Yeah.
That is a standard bearing game that it's hard to the Grey Cup. Some Grey Cup games you could argue, but not to that level. It's something about
No.
that 2011 game that just, man, I could watch that game over and over and over.
It's scary to think that that game was so long ago that a guy that's now a regular commentator on TSN for multiple years played
Marshall.
in that game.
Yeah, Marshall Ferguson was the backup. But
Ford
yeah, shout out to
McMaster,
CFL
yeah.
Classics. This will be definitely one where I catch I'll be watching the game throughout, but mostly likely catching the highlights after the game once I'm on the ferry, and then once I get home on Sunday, I'll probably throw the game on at some point just to check out what happened because I definitely will be interested to see. In playoff football, obviously, I think don't want to speak for you guys quite yet. I'm going to personally probably roll with Montreal, but as I said earlier, on any given Saturday, like Winnipeg has that championship playoff pedigree to come in here. They've played in these big moments before. Davis Alexander really hasn't, so that has to maybe come into play as well. So um, it's tough because I'm contradicting myself. I'm not counting out Winnipeg, but I'm definitely not going with them either. But I think this is going to be a good matchup on Saturday for sure. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the coach, do you want to give your thoughts or do you want me to go?
I'll go. As much as I would love to go with Montreal, as much as I would love to say, hey, they got Davis, that's all you really need. They're vulnerable, and I'm not going. Winnipeg, we gotta give credit where credit is due. Like Cole said, Winnipeg's been to the Grey Cup 5 straight years, and they have that championship DNA. Do they have some pieces that are still experiencing it and are learning about it? Yes. But finally, they got Snell out of there. God damn. But 112
They don't,
pitches is disgusting.
yeah, because
112,
they don't trust their bullpen. That's why. But
and like they're gonna throw Kershaw out there. But no, I'm gonna go with Winnipeg. I think I'm gonna go with Winnipeg on this one
I
just
like that.
because it's something I can't go against the great Willie Jefferson. I can't go against Zach Collaros and Brady. And as you all know, playoff football, the game changes. You have to run the ball. And what's the difference in that offense? Both their offenses. Brady Oliveira. Give me
yep.
Winnipeg for the win.
I
Yeah,
think
I actually,
like before you go as well, just lastly, do not mistake it. They are very motivated, whether it's in their away dressing room or not, to get back to Winnipeg at some point this season. So whether it is through the crossover, win or not, that's definitely on top of their minds of, hey boys, we have still the opportunity to handle our business, get back to the Grey Cup once again. And we're not even going to speak about the D word, but could obviously write some more history if they're able to do so. I'm not personally going to go that far, but I'm not going to maybe I think it's going to be interesting. Blake, what do you got to say there, bud?
yeah, no, I'm just glad that coach brought up Brady because um the for the X factor in this game for me is if Jason Hogan uses them because like we've seen it this year when they use Brady Oliveira, they are a better team than when they don't use Brady.
Hmm.
And like if they can use Brady, then it will be a huge boost for them. They will be able to keep the game close, but as I said earlier in the show, I think Montreal is just too good. It's in Montreal, Percival Molson. It's gonna be sold out, like over 21,000, whatever the number will be. I think Montreal has just enough. If Hogan gets down early and goes away from Brady, it might be a blowout. But if he uses Brady throughout, I think it's gonna be close. But I do still believe that Montreal is gonna win the game.
You got to get Brady 20 carries.
At least.
20,
At least, yeah.
20 carries, and they have to be productive carries. They can't be, oh, he's get 2, 3 yards. No, they got to be 7, 8, 9, and then a big because
If he
Brady's
start
due for a big run.
Coach, sorry, if he starts pounding his head, then you
Hmm.
know that Montreal's in trouble.
When he starts doing all that, you're in trouble.
Yeah. But
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I'm curious to know what Shane thinks of the matchup. Too bad for that tonight for the goddamn internet out in Ottawa.
Boo, Shane. I'm booing you.
But
He just
let's
wanted to
hope if
watch
he
the
is,
Jays game. Let's be honest. He
he
lied
probably
to
is
us.
watching the Jays game. Let's not beat around the bush. But if he is watching, let's at least make the graphic for playoffs or something. Let's get I was gonna say a season tally, but I don't even want to. There's nothing for me to brag about. I tied Blake. Like what the hell? The heck is that?
If anything,
God.
I'm the one that choked at the end. But
I mean, I told you, Blake. I told you I was coming for you.
but
Anyways, though, is that all, boys? Any other thoughts on the East semifinal, or should we get to the West semifinal?
West
I think
semifinal.
let's get to the West.
Okay, well, at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, the BC Lions will be hosting the Calgary Stampeders from BC Place. For the third time in 4 seasons, these two teams have met up in this very matchup. So very familiar with one another. Obviously, I was able to have the Hall of Famer, voice of the Calgary Stampeders, Mark Steven, on to kind of preview the game and give a little bit of my thoughts. But I think, like, first and foremost, you have to start with obviously the quarterback storyline, and obviously 14 months ago, the Lions moved on from Vernon Adams Jr. for Nathan Rourke, and obviously that decision was made when the trade, or not when the trade happened, excuse me, when Nathan Rourke came back from the NFL. Um, I'm very happy that, um, another run for the Blue Jays. Maybe I think I'm behind you, aren't I, Blake?
Yeah,
I'm
you are.
behind y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
coach.
God,
The
no.
Fox broadcast is like 15 seconds
Oh,
behind
you're
mine.
watching Fox? Why do you watch Fox?
I'm
Because he's
watching
down in
Fox.
the States, bro. That's all he gets.
Oh no, sorry, I thought you said Blake. I was like,
No,
why
no,
are
no,
you
no,
watching?
no. Coach is watching Fox.
We're on the
I like
same
Buck
time
Martino
zone, and
more.
I'm
He's
15 seconds delayed.
Yeah, because
I
we're watching the Canadian broadcaster. But anyways.
right.
Lucky bastards.
Sorry, as I was mentioning about the quarterback storyline, 14 months ago the Lions moved on from Vernon Adams Jr. I'm super happy that VA has kind of landed in a home that's fit him, number one, that's really embraced him, that's given him an opportunity. I talked with Mark about kind of like, I feel like a lot of people think I'm like a hater of Vernon Adams Jr., where I think it's the complete opposite. I don't think I know it's the complete opposite. I think I just have high standards for Vernon Adams Jr. because I know what's in there. Um, but this is a quarterback that I said with Mark is good enough on any given Saturday. He can give his team an opportunity to win, and he's one of the 4 quarterbacks in the CFL that can realistically do that. Maybe even you could say 5 quarterbacks, maybe with Davis Alexander, but like, or maybe there might even be a little bit more. But I think ultimately, um, Vernon Adams Jr. had himself, for the first 10 games, he was arguably the MLP front runner, or at least one of the leading candidates
Yeah.
for the award. Obviously, kind of had a tough end of the season. But for like Stampeders fans and Vernon Adams Jr. fans' sake, I really hope that he's able to like be competitive in this matchup. I don't think it's any surprise I'm going with BC. I don't think Blake's going to go with BC. I don't need to talk too much about BC,
Get down.
but I will be honest. The last thing I will say about the matchup and BC, I guess more specifically, is like their defense long term is kind of maybe the cause for, I don't know about concern, but would be my, can they go on a run? I think Nathan Rourke in this offense will do what they've done all season. Most yardage, most offensive yards from a team, most points per game from a team. Offensively, they really have been on fire all year long. That hasn't been the problem. But defensively, obviously, the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks of the year, they've been arguably the best defense in the CFL, and led by obviously Matthew Betts, Bradley Anae, and Levi Bell have really unlocked him. But as we saw last week, we saw a lot of middle of the season BC Lions defense versus the Riders last week, and it wasn't versus Trevor Harris. It was, for a lot of that, it was Jake Mayer. So, as Coach said, in 2 weeks' time, where it's going to be in Saskatchewan once again, can this defense do enough to not overshadow their offense's ability to, I think, do enough? So I'm going with BC, but I don't think that's any surprise. But I think Calgary will be able to keep this one competitive.
Yeah,
I'm
and
a
I'll just say, sorry, coach, before you go, I will just say that it like we talked about it at length, the defensive struggles earlier in the year, but these last 6 weeks have actually moved the Lions defense up into the top half, like for most stats, like 2 or 3 as to like most productive defenses for the whole season. So as bad as the defense felt like it was till Labor Day, like the numbers show us that maybe it truly wasn't that bad. But coach, go ahead, give us your thoughts.
Well, first of all, I'm sick and tired of y'all disrespecting cousin Jake. Y'all always disrespecting my cousin like that, so I'm not gonna sit there and let y'all do that no more. Uh, no, I think this is gonna be a fun matchup. I mentioned it earlier tonight. Whenever Calgary and BC play each other, it's always a good matchup, especially in the postseason. Being in the house and watching Vernon go off for 405 TDs was nasty work, but Vernon is capable of that in the big time. Now, my issue is, does BC's defense have enough to stop all that firepower that that offense has? I said it earlier in the season. This might be the nastiest offense in the league when healthy. When everybody's healthy and everybody's on point, who gonna stop Dominic Rhymes? Who gonna stop Alford? Who gonna stop Tevin Jones? Who gonna stop Bigleton? Who gonna stop Dedrick Mills? You have to pick your poison. You have to figure out, are we gonna stop the run more or are we gonna stop the pass? What are we willing to give up as a defense? You can't stop everything. So if they have a good game plan going into it, I would think personally, you let Dedrick get his yards. It's gonna take time. It's gonna take a little bit for him to get into the end zone because he's gonna be short yardage in situations to score. That's just me. But I think I'm gonna go with BC. I'm never gonna go against Ryan Phillips. I'm never gonna go up against Michael Alway, Matthew Betts, but it's gonna be a hell of a game, y'all.
No, I
Yeah.
I agree with that, and I'll just say that my thoughts are pretty similar to yours and Cole's, coach. But the one thing about Calgary, and it came back to bite them in the butt a couple weeks ago when these two teams. I guess by the time kickoff happens, it'll be exactly 4 weeks ago when they came to BC Place and the Lions ended up winning to put themselves in the driver's seat. And it's kind of the reason they're hosting this game is because Calgary didn't finish drives. They had those big plays and like they had like VA had like 3 40-yard plays in that game, but every single time they didn't finish the drive. They
Right.
settled for field goals. And against this BC Lions offense, they've proved it time and time again this year. You're not going to beat them with field goals. You have to score touchdowns.
Hmm.
If you try and beat them with field goals, you are going to be playing a sorry game. If Nathan Rourke takes care of the ball, which is again why Calgary was in that game late because the Lions had a big lead, back to back series, Nathan Rourke threw interceptions and Calgary scored touchdowns to make it a one possession game. But if Nathan Rourke takes care of the ball and the defense has that old adage of bend, don't break, give
Hmm.
up yards, like you said, to Alford, to Rhymes, to Philpott, to Mills. But if you can hold the Stamps to field goals, you don't turn the ball over. I like the Lions' chances, and it's no secret that, of course, I'm going to go with the Lions as well. But
But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
forgot Jalen Philpott first. I forgot to mention him in there. But they're all different receivers, but they complement each other so well. When you have a
yeah,
Dominic Rhymes who's 6'5", you have an Alford who's what, 6'6", 6'5", Tevin
six
Jones
seven,
who's
I thought.
6'7". Jesus Christ.
So
Goddamn, Tevin Jones who's 6'4", but then you also got Jalen Philpott. Uh, that's a Can we just agree that is a nasty
Oh,
combination
for
of
sure.
receivers? But
something scary, boys, that actually Mark mentioned in our little preview. I asked about kind of their Canadians because 410 was their representative for Rookie of the Year. About kind of like 410 and their draft class they're able to have with obviously the Vernon Adams Jr. trade because they got extra ammo from BC. He mentioned that like he still thinks that the um the organization thinks there's another like 3 or 4 levels for him to get to because this year they feel like he really still doesn't understand the Canadian game. As we obviously remember back to draft time, he went to University of Syracuse,
Yeah.
like kind of in his early years, and then obviously transferred out to University of Utah. And then his last year at Utah, he only played I think like 15 snaps or something like that. The whole year, it was that weird thing of the coaching kind of decisions or something weird went on. That's kind of what the narrative was surrounding him come draft time of like, who is this guy as a prospect? And so many guys had question marks. And he's kind of been like a moldable piece of clay for Calgary to really turn into like a superstar receiver, ratio breaking superstar receiver as well, right? A guy that can be a Canadian for you. And in year one, in what, 12 games, 14 games, he missed a pretty significant amount of time. He had himself quite the year. Like there's a lot of guys that not only fans will remember him going into next year when they're in meetings, they're gonna remember who number 80 is in Calgary for sure. And that's not just because of how tall he is. So or how the Moose. I hit Mark with that yesterday. He loved it. But I do like Blake's point lastly on this game from my perspective about bending and not breaking because I think and probably one of the more I wouldn't say skeptical, but I definitely would say like I pause on my confidence in the defense in a full run. I love what you say about the numbers, Blake, because numbers obviously don't lie. Women lie, men lie, numbers do not lie. I 100% agree with that, but there's also the statement of the eye in the sky don't lie. And if we do match eye test with the numbers, I do believe it's that the defense was not as maybe strong in the middle of the part of that season. That's not anything crazy to say. I think you agree with that as well.
Yep.
But they have turned a corner. So for our sake, I really hope that they're able to continue to do so, especially as I said, Bradley and I and Levi Bell have really done a good job of like unlocking Matthew Betts the last 6 weeks, and he's had what 11 sacks, I believe it is. So that's the key. But as we go forward as well, I think why I have confidence in versus a Vernon Adams Jr. led offense versus a Vernon Adams Jr. who I think will be coming to this one a little bit amped up. He'll feel the emotion from being in that atmosphere. 30,000, I would imagine, at least will be in BC Place on Saturday,
My
playing his
my
old
hope
team.
quickly just talk over. I know I've been doing that a lot
All good, buddy.
tonight, but I hope the Lions beat the Whitecaps playoff attendance.
I agree. I would agree.
32
33
5 6
or
6.
above, it has to be.
Any Lions fans, if you're watching this, get out to BC Place. Like the Whitecaps are like it's no secret. I don't know if you saw the stats. I know you guys. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if you guys are really soccer guys at all, but the Whitecaps dominated that game 3-0. Dallas had one shot the entire game. Like the Whitecaps are a championship contender, but you have a championship contender in the BC Lions as well. Get out and support that team.
Support Amar Doman as well because he's done a fantastic job. Best owner in the CFL. When talking about the defense versus Vernon Adams Jr., I would expect them to do a pretty close job to what they've been doing the last few weeks and have a good performance. As you mentioned, Blake, bend but not break, but not want to look too far ahead because obviously the Lions have to take care of business first before looking at a guy like before looking at a match like Saskatchewan. But as coach is well aware, and as you look at that matchup, Trevor Harris, what does he do well? He gets the ball out of his hands. What does that do? That eliminates your pass rush. They also run the rock. That eliminates your pass rush as well, especially being in the prairies. So that if that aspect isn't there for the Lions, that trickle down effect hurts the secondary that much more. Guys have to be in coverage that much more. So I feel like it starts with the pass rush. And if they're able to be successful, it should mean that the defenses be able to be successful. So hopefully, number one, they're able to take care of business versus Calgary first and not look forward to not look too far ahead. But I'm expecting offense to be offense and at least put up 30. So I personally went with, I know we don't have to give predictions, but I went with 34-30. I think it's going to be a game that's probably a little bit too close for comfort for a lot of Lions fans. And I think ultimately the Lions will have the ball last and Nathan Rourke will be able to lead a game-winning drive, probably like a, 30-27 type of game late in the game. Nathan Rourke's able to lead them down the field and take that 34-30 victory. So I think it's going to be a good one, especially clean track, BC Place, no elements to be involved or anything like that. I expect a high flying matchup.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I got a surprise for y'all.
What's up?
What's
Well,
that?
I got after everything. Well, as we all have talked about it, we did our episode, but after everything that I've been through the last couple months and so. I took some time off. I feel like I'm ready to come back, y'all. I feel like I'm ready to start recording again. I'm getting that feel back, that energy slowly but surely. And I prayed on it. I'm not a big, I'm not the most religious person. Me and the boy are heathens, but I think I'm ready to finally start recording again.
That's
Very nice,
great
coach. That
news.
that makes that makes me so happy, man. That honestly gave me goosebumps a little bit on the back of my back there, man. So I'm so happy to hear that, coach. I know we're all struggling with our inner demons and whatnot. I know you're struggling a little extra, coach. And as I know, Blake and I are always here for you if you ever need anything. I love that you've shown the strength and you feel like you're ready. So I can't wait. I'll be there, coach, when that reaction drops and be ready to go.
Hey, ain't
But
nobody, I'm gonna do my thing, man. My baby would want it, and I prayed on it, and I know she's been talking to me and just telling me, "You got to do your thing, Dad. You have to record. You have to record, Daddy." So, for her sake, I'm gonna start doing. I'm gonna start with Saturday's game, and just kind of
nice.
do my little. He don't get tired. She
Oh yeah,
loved.
coach.
She
That
loved
makes
those.
me that makes me so happy, man.
We
So
love that, coach.
I
That's
appreciate y'all.
I think that's Cole. I think you'll agree with me that that's almost the perfect way to end the show. Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
talked
That
we
makes me
talked
so happy.
about the games, we talked about U Sports, talked about the CJFL. Um, U Sports is in full swing, playoffs. All four conferences have their semifinals this week. CJFL has a week off, but it's the West semis, and yeah, no, I think that's the perfect way to end the show.
Let's end it right, fellas.
Yes, sir. We will be back next Wednesday night, of course, on the 13th Man YouTube channel. Until then, fellas, enjoy the weekend, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Yes, sir.
See you guys.